How to bring new folks to your mission.
That's not easy. You may need to meet maybe 100 people for setting up that core team of 5 individuals.
And how does this change when you go from, let's say, 1 to 10?
The hot topic these days is how do you create a right balance, right?
Work-life
There is
balance.
talk about work-life balance, and my response to that is
What tips can you give to those founders who are very young about networking and reaching out to people for help?
when you're approaching any individual or when you are trying to do a connect,
You can ask me any questions about Venture Edu.
one of the things I wanted to ask you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode with Venture Edu. Today we have Ashish Nayyar with me. Ashish is co-head and board member at OakNorth India, which is a digital bank in UK and US. Welcome, Ashish.
Thank you for having me.
So, would you like to say a couple of sentences about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I have been in the corporate world for about 25 years now. Have worked across both big companies as well as small companies. So I've seen companies go from 0 to 1 and 1 to 10 and then exits and M&A as well. And have worked with bigger established companies as well. So I've seen both sides in my journey, essentially focused on team development, competency building across BFSI domain, essentially.
Right. So, the topics which I wanted to explore with you today are around team building and then scaling, and both positives and negative sides of scaling, and then leadership.
Yeah.
And so, I think these are the major themes. And then, obviously, there is also a founder element to all of this, right?
Right.
Because we are looking at all these topics from potential founders who are going to be building with Venture Edu.
Right.
So that's the whole focus of the conversation. So maybe we start with team building, because what I've realized is that early stage founders don't have resources when they start their journey.
Right.
And in the beginning, you're working with probably a very lean team. And even if you have resources, they are very junior. So, how do you think about team building in phases where you don't have necessarily access to capital? You may be on that journey of fundraising, but you
Right.
still need resources who can help you and lift that weight.
Right. So, yeah, that's an interesting point. And whenever you are starting up, especially, team building becomes very important because you need that core to kind of do various aspects of venture building, right? When you don't have that much resources to hire expensive, experienced individuals, you tend to go with, okay, youngsters who would either be fresh out of college or may have 1 or 2 years of experience.
Right.
So one of the aspects there that really works is setting up the right processes, because when you give these individuals a framework to work with, it could be any domain, right? It could be finance, it could be marketing, it could be technology. So if you have the framework and the right training for those individuals early on, then that makes the whole journey easier. That is one aspect that I've seen work. And the second is aligning everyone to the mission of the organization or the venture that you're trying to build.
Right.
Because if people are aligned and are driven to that mission, obviously they would go the extra mile. They would learn on their own. They would try and experiment, and they would contribute towards that mission, because it's also about agile mindset, right? Things change. You take a course, but you may need to course correct is a common thing while venture building. So those things become important.
Right. Well, so in the beginning, when founders are meeting these candidates, right? So a lot of time you are selling your idea.
Correct.
You're convincing others that this is something which is worth building. This is something where you can create value. So, how to bring new folks to your mission, and because they are the ones who are going to give it shape. So, how to persuade them or how to influence them?
Yeah. So
Because you don't have the resources to influence, right?
Right. Not every individual would get influenced. That is the reality,
Hmm.
right? So, as I said earlier, having clarity on what you're trying to achieve, and if you're able to align that core team of 3, 4, 5 individuals who may stay on course
Right.
for that mission with you, your job is done. But that's not easy. You may need to meet maybe 100 people for setting up that core team of 5 individuals,
Right.
right? And some individuals who join the venture may feel that, okay, this is not for me. So there is attrition as well. So
Right.
that is another challenge to manage, because you spend so much time with an individual and the individual then realizes that this is not my cup of tea and the individual leaves. That's also a big barrier to success, right,
Yeah.
for an
Yeah.
early stage founder.
And every time someone, let's say you have groomed someone and they leave,
Yeah.
right? That I think in the very early days, that is almost very personal, because you feel that, well, I have nurtured this person and now he's leaving me for whatever reasons.
Right.
Usually, when I speak to them, they usually take it as a form of rejection, that somebody is, well, founders are very used to that feeling, because in case you are meeting investors, you are at least getting
Yeah.
rejected 99.9% of the times.
Right.
So that is not a new feeling. But when a team member is leaving, it's almost hits you harder, because that is someone who is building with you day to day basis. So how should founders manage their emotions in those situations?
Yeah, that's not easy, right? But I would say consider it as a learning,
Hmm.
right? You have been on that journey. Of course, individual learned certain things, and the founder or the core team also learned certain things from that individual, and move on and get the next person. That has to be the thinking mindset there, because if you keep getting into those emotions,
Right.
you won't be able to take the next step forward. And whatever contributions the individual would have made during that period, if those are documented well, then it's easier for the next person who would come in to take on from there and build on top versus starting from scratch.
Right. Right. And how does this change when you go from, let's say, 1 to 10? 0 to 1, okay, you have that core team of 3 to 4 people. Now, how should the founder think differently when you're moving from 1 to 10? Maybe you are going from 10 people to 100 people team,
Right.
right?
So again, there the interesting thing is that you get some flexibility, right? If you are expanding, so you are able to hire the relevant skills if you have to from the market. So that is one thing that can be considered over there. And it's also about developing those individuals, right, who have been on that 0 to 1 journey with
Right.
you.
Right.
So how do you give them regular coaching and mentoring so that they are able to take on more and more responsibilities versus going out in the market and hiring more experienced people? So if out of those 5, maybe 3 individuals are capable of taking more responsibilities, why not give them more responsibilities and build a team under them, have a structure under them that also keeps the costs in check.
Right. So it's almost like buy or build kind of a decision,
Correct,
where
correct,
you
correct.
are investing in existing people. But what I've also realized that when you move from 1 to 10, so initially I think most of the culture is driven by the founder, because there are very few people.
Yeah,
So it's very easy to, let's say, distribute information or take updates or give direction, right?
yeah,
But once you are, let's say, 20 people or 25 people, I think the influence of the founder is a downward sloping graph at that point, because other people bring so much to the table
correct.
that the founder's influence actually goes down, because other people contribute more on day to day basis.
Yeah,
And that's when you have to take that call, whether I want to bring outside people or empower existing people. And in companies which are growing faster, right, usually, let's say, if it's a if you're going from 10 to 100 in, let's say, 3 months or 4 months, usually existing people may not be able to cope up with that hyper growth, right? And in that case, you end up bringing
correct,
someone from
correct,
outside.
correct.
So how do you communicate that as a leader to existing people that your interest will be aligned in long term, but currently we need this for this phase?
Yeah. So transparency is the best approach that works in those situations. So having an honest discussion with the individuals that, okay, this is the gap we are trying to fill, and therefore we would want to get that and fill that gap, get an experienced person from the market. And in the end, if that works out, that will help the core existing team, because there would be incentives for them also, right? They, or everyone benefits from the growth. If the company is growing, they would be the equity, that ESOPs that those individuals would have
Right.
would also grow, and the value creation would be there. So that is another discussion to be had with those team members. But I would give you an interesting example. When I joined Copal Partners, it was about, I think, 30 or 40 people.
Which year was that?
I think this would be 2004 or 2005,
Okay.
right? And out of those 20 individuals, 4 or 5 freshers who would have joined that cohort at that time went on to become the senior most individuals in the company when the company was 3,000 people,
Wow.
right? So, and currently few of them are still with the company, even though company has exchanged hands multiple times, but they still continue to be the leaders over there and are expanding that company really fast, even after scaling. So it's about aligning individuals with your mission, creating the right incentive structure, so to say, with them, and giving them the right tools, right? And those tools could be in the form of right interventions for training or coaching or mentoring, or these could be the tools in terms of the technology, access to the right set of tech stack, so that they are able to kind of expand their horizon and grow with the organization.
Right. So last you mentioned about having those transparent conversations.
Correct.
So is it easy to have those conversations as a leader?
So for a leader, no, it's not easy. I will be very honest, it's not easy. But as a leader, the role is to be focused on the mission, right? You get a lot of noise about these things, you get dragged into emotions. But if you are set on a mission and your objective is clear, and if you try and focus on that objective, then you are able to have that discussion confidently with the other individual by explaining pros and cons. Okay, what is the fear at that point in time? The fear is that, okay, the individual with whom I'm having a conversation with may not be happy, or the individual may leave the organization, right? Is that the fear, or is there any other fear in your opinion?
Primarily, I think that's the fear.
That's the fear, right?
Yeah.
So that's okay, as long as you know the downside,
Yeah.
you can aim for the upside, right? And try
Right.
and protect the downside.
And in your those days when you were part of those 0 to 1 teams,
Yeah.
was there ever discussion of culture, what kind of culture we want to build, and should founders in 2025, young founders, first time founders, should they think about culture?
Yeah, I think culture, I would say, is really important. And all those companies that I've been associated with, there were discussions about the culture. There were discussions about, okay, the hot topic these days is how do you create a right balance, right?
Work-life
There is
balance.
talk about work-life balance, and my response to that is, work is part of life. So
Right.
stop making that distinction first,
Hmm.
right? There needs to be a balance, so that balance would come, but you can't distinguish.
Right.
You can't separate out work from life, right? Life is, it's part of life. It's within that framework.
Right.
Because if you do that distinction, then you start hating work, and everybody starts to hate work. Work is not my life. Life is something else. Work, I go, I just do something, I get my paycheck, and I'm out. So that mindset is something that creates issue in my mind. But yeah, there needs to be a discussion about the culture, the value system of your organization. What
Right.
values
Right.
should individuals associate your organization with? Because that all those things bind individuals together, is what I've seen. And then you're able to create that ecosystem within the organization, that okay, this is my mission, these are the values that I'm driven by when I'm working with this organization, and there is clarity.
Right, right.
There is clarity that
And
every individual has.
and in your last,
And I would
25.
also say that we should not create an imbalance between what you say in terms of value and what is the ground reality. At times
Yeah.
that also happens. That creates a really difficult situation for individuals who may be associated in that sort of a company.
Yeah. And in your, in your journey, have you seen things changing in terms of this work life debate? How has that changed? Let's say when you started your career till now, what are two, three different phases which you have noticed? Okay, now this shift has happened. Probably after 2020, another shift has happened. Or before, after 2010, one shift happened.
Yeah. So when I started my career, almost I think 2001 is when I started.
Right.
So this concept of work-life balance was non-existent at that time. At least I did not experience those kind of discussions.
Right.
The discussions were around how do we grow, how do we take the company to the next level, and if this is my mission, how do I solve for that mission and get it done.
Right.
That was the focus. But as the country and economy has progressed, right, in last 2-3 decades, there is more security, more opportunities for individuals, and when that has happened, then people want to have started taking it little easier when it comes to work.
Right.
And hence I believe that discussion around balance and less focus on work, or maybe I'll just give few hours and more flexibility is needed, has started. And another major shift happened during COVID, and COVID taught us that how you can work without offices, right? Everything was
Right.
shut and
Right.
efficiency was there, everyone was working really well. So that was a positive learning, I think, for both individuals as well as the organization. And now I think most companies you talk to, hybrid model is the way to go, because that gives you enough flexibility, and at the same time you're able to build that culture and bonding with the teams when you're in office. So I would say, yeah, these two shifts is what I would have seen.
Hmm. And in hybrid, do you think the productivity is at the same level as 100% in office kind of environment?
Again, as long as you have your mission defined correctly, you have your goals defined correctly, you have that percolated down to the individual level in terms of what an individual is expected to achieve, then it works really well. But if individuals don't have that clarity, then it's difficult to be remote and be fully productive.
Yeah. So you need to have that OKR
Yeah,
defined.
you have OKR, KPI, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
That I think is an important thing, so that you know what you are trying to achieve. Without setting the goals, what
Right.
are you trying to achieve, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And in this 0 to 1, you think it's something which can be worked out remote, or is it 100% you should meet every day because you're trying to build momentum?
0 to 1, my personal belief is that you need to be together with the team to do various things, right? To brainstorm, set your business plans, do that hustle, and get things done. So for that, it is important. But at times in 0 to 1, you might be working, teams might need time to work alone, right? In those cases, work outside of office should also be fine, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially technology teams, they may be
Especially, yeah, if
remote.
you have to do very focused work as an
Right.
individual, then it's fine to
Right. Right.
work from home or
Yeah.
wherever you are comfortable with.
But my belief is that this meeting few times a week, spending few hours together, even if let's say you don't have an office space as a young founder, I think it just builds momentum.
Builds momentum, and for setting the right culture also it is important,
Right.
and especially for new joiners, right?
Hmm.
It is important. You can't be remote from day one.
Right.
For that individual also, it becomes very difficult to understand.
Yeah. And then, everybody is so scattered if they are not meeting, and then that distribution of that knowledge, what we are doing in, let's say, smaller sprint, and what is our quarterly goal and where
Right.
we are trying to get.
Right.
If we have that, I don't know, some people do it virtually, like a daily stand in, other things like a daily scrum.
Yeah.
Those small things also help, but meeting physical in that phase, if you are, let's say, below 5 or below 10, very very young company, I think it makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I don't know. I'm also hearing that companies are fully remote these days, even starting up like that. And
Yeah.
some of them are successful. So something to
Yeah.
be learned from those companies as well.
Yeah. Well, again, it depends on what you're building.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
If you are like, I don't know, like a traditional manufacturing business, or you're a consumer business, or B2B SaaS, I think all of them will have different constraints.
Right. Right.
And then because you have also been recruiting for
Yeah.
so many years, so what changes have you seen in young people? Maybe, I mean, you are senior now, so you probably don't interview younger folks that much. But as a part of the core team for OakNorth, what changes have you seen in the behavior of younger people towards work? Not work-life balance, but
Yeah.
towards work.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think India is also going through that evolution of build to spec, which is a service mindset, right? You are told what to do and you just go hard on it without thinking, have your blinkers on and do it, to more of innovation, building, right? New products, new technologies. A lot more work needs to happen there, but there are early signs of those things happening, especially with the shift in government policy also towards more skill development, innovation, creating that startup ecosystem, etc. So when you see the individuals, so it was like that earlier, where individuals were very focused on
Right.
what needs to be done, and they would do it. They would not question that much, right? Because the success metric was that, okay, this is what I'm told to do, I will do it, and that my job is done, and I'll get my increment and bonus because I've been doing that, or I may do more than what I'm told, but again, it's defined for me. So when I meet individuals now, and that's very exciting because people now question you, right? They ask you why. Why is very important now. Why are we doing it? Why can't we do it like this? There are 10 other ways to look at it. So that is a big change that has happened now. So again, there we just need to be focused on what we are trying to solve for, because if you keep questioning and not focus on execution also, that's also an issue, right?
Yeah.
So it's the right balance that I think we are going through that evolutionary phase at the moment, is what I would say.
Yeah. And how, so the leadership is challenging in this transition phase, because you have to balance both answer why, and also in real time you're managing, okay, how fast am I going?
Yeah, so that all that is a new challenge for the leaders, especially those leaders who have seen this evolution and transition. So how do you align individuals to again the mission? How do you align them to the OKRs?
Right.
And give them the right freedom to maybe experiment and innovate? Because if you don't do that, then as an organization you won't be able to move forward.
Right. And how have you seen the startup ecosystem evolve? Because in 2001, there were hardly any Cat 1 funds in India. I can only recall, people like ICICI Ventures or
Yeah.
some other. I think in 2006, there may have been like less than 10 funds, and now there are 140.
Right.
Right. So, how have you witnessed the early stage ecosystem in India evolve in 25 years?
Well, it's very exciting to see this transition, right? Because the startup founders have all the support right now. Fundraising was, for example, not easy in those times. Startup funding
Correct.
was very difficult.
Yeah.
You didn't have support from the government. Today, government individuals would want to talk to you, would want to help solve things for you. So
Yeah.
those things are also happening, which was unheard of, right? Maybe 10, 15 years ago. And then there are opportunities, right, being created. So the entire infrastructure around venture building has taken a big shape. So all that is very exciting in my
Yeah,
view.
yeah. So one is this funding, capital access is easier now,
Yeah,
and I think sometimes scarcity is also not a problem because it forces you to think creatively, and that's what people did. So when they didn't get funding, customers funded their
yeah,
growth indirectly.
yeah,
Now, what do you see as negative sides of that capital access,
yeah.
right? Which potentially we have seen over last couple of years, many stories of companies, young founders, having that access to capital, and then whatever ethical issues creep up and all those things. So, how do you look at that?
Yeah, you need to be focused on the mission that you are set yourself for, and don't forget that. I think is how it should be looked at. It's unfortunate that some of those things are coming out, but the good thing is that okay, the structure of the economy
Hmm.
and the ecosystem is such that you can't hide those things, right?
Right.
You can't just fool everyone, fool your investors, and get away with those things.
Right.
So
Right.
that I think is a good thing. But another challenge with a lot of capital at times is that you start to waste capital,
Hmm.
right? You start to waste capital. You lose focus on your customers, right? You lose focus on growth. You lose focus on unit economics.
Right.
So when those things happen, then that's a negative side of access capital, is what I would say.
So, as a founder, how do you mentally check yourself when you're getting into that trap? That am I leaning or am I marginally going towards the access side, where I'm overdoing certain things which are not required in order to deliver value? So, what can founders do?
So one is customers. So ask your customer what they need. Are you just focused on that or not? Is the litmus test, is what I would say. And then numbers don't lie, right? So you need to be focused on unit economics. Is that getting negatively impacted if I'm doing certain things? Then that's another check.
Yeah, yeah. I think customer focus, I think in growth stage, yes, there are many factors at play. So sometimes founders do get scattered.
Yeah,
So that is one part. But this second part, because there is a lag effect, right? By the time you are indulging in access and when you realize it, part of capital has already evaporated from the balance sheet, right?
yeah,
So there
yeah.
is that lag, that probably 6 months, 1 year after already being into that cycle.
Right, right.
So maybe having that preventive mindset may be helpful.
Yeah. Again,
In them.
focused on your mission, right?
Right.
What is your mission? Why are you doing this? And once you do that, then that keeps the founders in check.
Mhm. And how do you see the role of, let's say, advisory boards for early stage companies after they get funded? But some of the VCs ask for board seats.
Yeah.
But in case you don't have a professional VC
Hmm.
as an investor, how should founders think about forming that group of people who can actually sit with you once or twice a year and tell you, okay, this is how you should think about this journey?
Yeah. So I think that's an interesting one because everyone needs help, right? And it's for the founder to decide, okay, what help do I need? And sometimes I've seen that you would set up a very good advisory board,
Right.
but the founders are not able to get the right value of the board from that board, right? Because reasons could be, it could be any reason, right? The advisory board that you would set up, those individuals are busy. So founders need to just be very clear on what advice they need, uh, ask questions directly so that you get the right response. Ask for the time, be proactive about it, because sometimes the advisory board members might not even think about proactively
Yeah. Yeah.
going to the founders and telling them to do something, because they are also busy in their lives.
Yeah.
So identifying the gaps, I think, in terms of what help do you need, and then aligning those individuals also to your mission,
Yeah.
and asking the right questions, proactively approaching them would be some of the things that work.
I've seen two, three kind of patterns. One is one kind of meetings with board is where people go with standards slides and they talk about, okay, this
Yeah,
is what happened quarterly. Or second is they go with very very broad agenda, which anyways doesn't lead to anything. But that specific discussion usually doesn't happen.
yeah,
I think what founders should think about is rather than running through quarterly metrics, I think those are just, can be shared through email or something.
yeah,
You should go with a specific ask that this is
right.
the bottleneck or this is where we need help. And then those meetings should be utilized to discuss different perspectives on that problem.
Correct. And yeah, those updates are nice, but those updates should be sent in advance
Yeah.
to the advisors, to the board, and those should be considered read. The
Yeah.
focus of the meeting should be on discussing the challenges very openly, transparently.
Right.
And the advisor may not have the right advice, but at times it would open up the mind in terms of, okay, what more can I think, or can I course correct like this based on the experience of those conversations.
And from the founder side, how much of that, because they know their business
Correct.
very well, and because out of all the people in the room, they're likely to be doing this 10 years from now.
Yeah,
Everybody else will be probably doing something else.
right.
So how should they balance it? Advice versus what is their gut feeling or what is the pulse of the customer, etc., etc.
So again, founders know the business. Founders also know that this is where I need advice.
Hmm.
So important to have that clarity versus. So if you know that my customers need X, and you have validated it through, I don't know, speaking to many customers, and you are confident of the market, then advice there would be of limited value.
Yeah.
But if you are trying to do something and certain area you have not seen that much traction in a
Right.
particular market, and you've tried five different things, and you are facing a challenge, that might be an area where you go and talk to the board or the advisor, that this is what I have done, this is what my thought process was, but this is where I am stuck, and then have that conversation openly.
Right. Right. I wanted to discuss about some negative sides of this hyper growth which startups go through from a people side.
Hmm.
So, what are some of the negatives which you have noticed when the team grows exponentially in a phase of, let's say, 3 months or 6 months? What kind of people issues founders should anticipate?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, and there could be a whole lot of issues that could come up in that situation, and it's always good to be proactive about those things and solving for it, rather than just witnessing it and then trying to course correct. So I would divide it into the existing set of individuals that you would have,
Right.
and the hyper growth and scaling, and you getting new individuals, and a lot of customers are getting onboarded, you're trying to solve for them, right? So there are two aspects. So when it comes to your existing team, at times you would face a challenge where not everybody is comfortable in taking on that additional responsibility, because
Hmm.
new people who would join would not be productive from day one. So the existing team generally would end up taking more load
Yeah.
initially, and not everyone is comfortable. You would see challenges of people breaking down in those situations. So that is a big thing to kind of solve for. How do you proactively solve for it, and if you're not able to fully solve for it, how do you ensure that you're talking to those individuals, right?
Right. Right.
You are listening to their challenges and are extending the right support to them.
Correct.
Then when you are hiring from a lot of people to manage that growth, it's about training, it's about aligning everyone towards your mission, right? Aligning everyone towards your value. How do you ensure that you're not breaking the culture that you've set in the organization? Because culture is something that I believe should be there forever as your mission, and you should not have changes in that, right? So that is another thing, to proactively plan and ensure that everyone is getting the right onboarding, is inducted really well, you are offering the right training and right support. There are frameworks that can be used of a buddy system or assigning a mentor,
Hmm.
uh, so that people are able to adjust to the organization when they join in.
And how soon should you start thinking about onboarding plan when you are 5 people, 10 people? What do you think is the right time?
Onboarding plan should be there, I think, even if you are 2 3 people, right?
Okay.
Because you want to set that culture, you want to have create that value system from day zero. I'm not talking about spending, I mean, creating 100-page documents. It can be very simple, that this is what we are, this is our mission, these are our values. You explain those values, right, with examples, so that you don't break that part.
Hmm. Maybe like a half an hour, 1 hour discussion is also
Yes,
fine.
yes, yes.
Some orientation, so
Yeah,
people coming in
correct, correct.
get the knowledge, right? So the point which you highlighted is communication, and then right training and onboarding, right? That
Yes,
helps in eliminating some of those issues which are there in 0 to 100.
right.
And next, I wanted to switch
And you
to
can't cover 100% of the issues, right? There would
correct,
be issues, and you'll have
right?
to solve for it as you are going through that journey. So
Yeah,
that mindset is also important, right? How do you ensure that the individuals who are there with you have that growth mindset, that okay, things are evolving continuously, externally as well as you are trying to do so much during that phase of growth.
so how do you screen for growth mindset in the, let's say, in the interviewing phase as a leader? How do you judge that?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, but you could do case studies, right? You could do case studies, you could do different situations and try to assess how individuals would react in those situations, is one way. And then there are, I think, psychometric tests available which you can administer and try and see how individuals would fare on various aspects.
We have entrance test for Venture Edu where we are checking for some of those values like
Okay,
persistence
right,
and growth orientation. So
right.
we have that in our entrance test.
Okay,
So
that's very interesting.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I always find it that people who are coming from, let's say, not from startup background, coming to startups, I
Hmm.
think they have the most difficult time
Hmm.
adapting
Hmm.
to
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, this evolving. Every
Continuously
day it's a
changing.
new thing, right? We are doing something today, tomorrow we may not be doing that, right?
Yeah,
At least in 0 to 1 phase it happens so many times that we
correct.
try maybe 10 different areas and
Right,
then one we pick up,
right,
right?
right, right,
And
right.
that may not be your favorite, right?
Correct,
That,
correct, correct.
so I think that unlearning also has to happen for people who are coming from outside the startup world.
Yes, yes. That unlearning needs to happen. And then again, alignment with the mission. Because why are you changing has to be explained. Okay, today I'm doing this, but tomorrow I'm doing something else. Why? That why is also important. Because if that why is not clear to the individual, then that would create a lot of confusion. Because in a bigger organization, the individual may be working on some set processes or set goals, and would continuously work on those goals for maybe months or years,
Hmm.
which is very different from a startup, right? But the mission doesn't change. Like, why are you building Venture Edu? If somebody were to ask you, that
Yeah.
that clarity has to be there among every individual in your organization, right? If somebody goes and asks any individual in your organization, what is Venture Edu? Why are you building Venture Edu? Are you going to get the same answer or a different answer? Is something to
Hmm.
be
That's a
thought
test.
about. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And as a leader, do you have that constant feeling that I'm not doing enough on daily basis?
As a leader, you have that feeling that you are not doing enough in terms of what?
Everything for the team, for the organization.
Well, yeah, that feeling could come. That feeling could come, but then you need to have the right balance, right, across multiple things that you are handling. So there
Hmm.
is team, there is customers, there are new initiatives, and you can't. Of course, I mean, you want to do more of everything, but then you need to prioritize. You need to prioritize, and you need to give responsibilities to other individuals who can take on those things and do more in those areas where you're not able to spend time.
Hmm. You're right. So I think in earlier phases, this 0 to 1 journey, this empowering of individuals is also slightly tough
Yeah,
because ultimately they are also very young and they
correct,
don't have experience of handling those issues. So I think it's kind of a shared responsibility in those cases. So I think founder still needs to be
correct.
involved.
Founders need to be involved, but then you need to try and experiment and give the right exposure to the individuals with the right set of mentoring and coaching, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because tough would continue to be tough if you don't try.
Right, right.
If you try, there is a chance that tough might become easy.
Yeah. That's a good that's a good segue into founder mindset, which I wanted to discuss with you. Was in your these building these last two organizations, you have been there, part of the initial group.
Mhm.
What do you think are the differentiators of founder mindset versus let's say an employee mindset, or what should be there in the founder's toolkit? Let's say if somebody is aspiring to be a founder,
Hmm.
maybe somebody is 23, 24, has never managed a team before, has
Yeah,
never even hired or interviewed
right,
people,
right.
and most of the first time founders are coming with expectations of building something.
Right.
And so how should they think about their own mindset, or how can they be better prepared?
Yeah. One is, of course, that agility needs to be there. So, as a founder, you need to have that in the back of your head that, okay, I need to continuously evolve and also adapt
Yeah,
to the emerging and changing circumstances, right? We live in a very volatile world these days. I mean,
yeah,
things are evolving almost on a daily basis, and that can impact your business as well anytime. So that's an important tuning that you need to do to your mind, so that you know that these things can happen. Because if you think about those things, as in, you won't not at times you would not know that, okay, this can happen, but things can change, and you need to evolve with that change is
yeah.
something that I think is very, very
Like COVID
important.
overnight.
COVID happened, right?
Yeah,
COVID happened. US tariffs, right?
yeah,
Some businesses are struggling with that. Some policy change may happen, right? Or some competition may come up with a better product than what you have, or technology landscape may evolve to something different, right? I mean, we have seen so many technology evolutions in the last
yeah, yeah.
20 years. It's a ever evolving landscape. So those things will continue to happen. And then you, again, what is my mission? Why am I doing this? Needs to be clear. And you need to keep reminding yourself about that. And if something is not working to achieve that, you need to change and adopt to that. So I think that is the most important thing for a founder. And then it's also about having the right connects, right? Knowing your customer is also very important, and developing the right ecosystem of various aspects of your business. It could be related to, okay, your connects with other founders, for example, how that is happening. Because from a learning perspective, you would need that on a constant basis. Then having the right mentors, right, who can be your sounding board and give you the right direction when you're stuck. So those are some of the things that are coming to my mind.
Hmm. Almost, I think I would say similar expectations from senior employees as well now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because they also need to be entrepreneur, they also need to be
correct,
innovating all the time. So I think
correct,
it's both ways.
correct.
It's not only founders, it's everybody,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
especially
hard to
with
do it for everyone, But
Yeah,
especially founder and the senior team, I would say you need to have that.
yeah, yeah. Even if you don't have P&L responsibility, I think you still need to be
Yeah,
constantly innovative in these times, right? One of the things you mentioned was around networking and
yeah,
building that right ecosystem. Now, as a young founder, you often don't have that confidence to actually reach out and connect with people. Or even if you reach out, you may not do it in a proper way, or people may not give that much weightage to your request, right? If you are, let's say, sending a message on LinkedIn, or
yeah,
you go to a certain event where you
yeah,
are not able to break ice or have that conversation. So how should young people think about this, right? If I'm building, because I think even after getting funded, it's a 7 to 15 year journey what we
right.
are looking at, right? So it's not that, well, one event or one conversation didn't go well, so I am
Yeah,
not good at networking. That's not
yeah,
how it works, right? So how should they think about, because when I meet younger founders, they're generally not having that long term mindset, because they're very very young. They're
yeah,
probably 3 4 years out of college,
right.
right? So, well, now after having worked for 15 20 years, I can say, looking back now, this is how it works, and this is how capital moves, and this is how
Yeah,
networking helps,
yeah,
all those things.
yeah,
So, what tips can you give to those founders who are very young about networking and reaching out to people for help? And how should they do it?
yeah. So, in fact, in today's times, there are various, there is that entire ecosystem, right? There are various networks out there
Yeah, yeah.
that you can join and approach and start having those conversations in those events, right? And also think about how you can add value to that individual that you're interacting with,
Hmm.
rather than just going with this approach that I need to get something from that individual. It's always a two-way street. It's always
Yeah.
give and take, right? So you are running a business, so you also have some strengths. So you can also add value to the other individual, is one thing that I've seen works. And when you're approaching any individual, or when you are trying to do a connect, which is a cold connect and not an introduction, then again be very specific, be very clear, because these individuals are very busy. They may not have that much attention span also. So just be very clear in your thought process in terms of why this connect and how both individuals can benefit.
And I think following up is also important, because
Yeah.
sometimes people send you a request and then you ask for something and then they
Right.
are gone for two
Right,
weeks.
right, right. Well, I've seen both sides. Sometimes there are too many follow-ups without any context. Those things don't work.
It's almost like spamming you, right,
Correct.
with messages. Yeah, yeah. So somewhere in the middle,
Yeah.
you don't want to spam someone, but you want to be there when there is a question asked. Answer that at least.
Yeah, but be clear, right? Why this connect, and what you need from the individual, and what you have to give to that individual.
Yeah. If I look at my own younger days, right, I would say two parts to it. One is that that level of self aware is just not there in your younger days, in your 20s, because you are still figuring out a lot of things
Yeah.
inside yourself. Maybe that's how life is. You figure out things,
Right.
every phase you figure out things, and then
Yeah.
you grow and then you figure out
Yeah.
things, right? But if you can just have that right role models or right mentors who can tell you, okay, this is how you're feeling, it's natural to feel that, but still you
Yeah.
need to do XYZ.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
But that's also not easy, because when you are young you don't open up and you don't discuss, because you feel you can do everything, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
feeling has not sunk in yet, that
Right.
you don't matter in the larger scheme of things and you still need to be consistent.
Right. Right. Right.
So I think that's just the matter.
Yeah. But I would say start somewhere, because if
Yeah,
you don't
starting,
start, then that hesitation will continue to
yeah,
be there.
comes back to growth mindset again.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
Now, in the last segment, you can ask me any questions about Venture Edu. So we can flip the table. So
Okay. That's
you can
interesting.
ask me questions, and we can have like a short discussion around what we are doing, trying to do.
Right. Oh, so one of the things I wanted to ask you is about your experience in terms of getting into this space, right? Because you yourself are a young founder and you're trying to create that ecosystem
Yeah.
to give the right toolkit, so to say, to young founders.
Yeah. Well, I'm not young. I'm almost 40 now.
40 is young.
40 is the new 20. So, as you know, I started my career in the investment research and then buyouts and then private equity space. So, most of my life till about 2019, I was on the other side where we were either evaluating deals, we were either recommending capital allocation or what to do after capital has been allocated, right? And post that, when I got into 0 to 1 early stage ecosystem, whenever I met founders, my first thought was, what if I could meet them maybe 3 4 years before they have raised money, allocated it before getting a PMF. So that was the original thought. So the effort was genuine effort was to find or build an institution where we can actually go to that very early days, so that at least we plant that seed, and then probably in next 7 years 10 years they are going to practice some of those things and become successful, right? So that was the original thought. And in terms of what tools we are planning to give them, so I think a large part of this is just unlearning what they have picked up, because of this focus on entrepreneurship in India has really changed in, let's say, last 10 years.
Yeah.
Data became cheap, digital distribution of information became cheap, and some of the large companies got built, right? Especially companies which started around 2008 2009, which are going to IPO now, right?
Yeah.
That's again 15
Right.
year journey. So those stories have been well covered. Now in your generation and even in my generation, not going for placement and doing a startup was an exception, right? People probably thought that he didn't get a placement and that's why he's doing this. So there was no social capital attached to being a founder. Now that has changed.
Right.
Now what is the other side which I'm noticing is that people jump into entrepreneurship with a perceived notion of having read or heard about it, without realizing the effort and rigor which is required to build something from 0 to 1, right? So the idea is to give them the tools so that actually they can put in the right effort,
Got it.
right?
Got
So
it.
those two were the like a foundational thoughts in my mind.
Understood. Understood.
And then the practitioners, right? So we
Right.
are bringing them together and they work with the founders.
Yeah. 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 Okay. And how has been the team building for you? Because you also
Yeah.
have built teams in your career and have been building teams for your venture.
Yeah. So in for my employers, I think I went through a very, I think, rough phase where I made a lot of mistakes in terms of communication, in terms of thinking how this is going to evolve 1 year or 2 year from now. I think the shift happened in the last leg of my corporate life when I actually started. Probably I was managing around 30 35 people team across 2 cities, and then I started thinking about, okay, what is the energy which is flowing to the team from through my communication, and how can I distribute the workload better, how can I align my hiring cycle, how can I do a detailed profile for each team member where we have 4 to 5 slides, and how can we revisit discussions which we are having on quarterly basis, how can we track those conversations, how can feedback about me, how can that get filtered and how can that reach me better. So that helped me. And in this 0 to 1 journey for last 5 years, I think those lessons have helped me a lot. Now it's, I think I always believe in over communicating rather than under communicating. So I share besides the confidential information, in case we are working on something confidential, everything I generally share if they ask questions. And I generally feel showing them the next phase definitely helps in this 0 to 1 journey. Like, not only why we are doing it, but this is where we can be in 3 years, 4 years,
Right.
and this is how this will help you. Maybe if your plan is to go for MBA, then this can be in your
Yeah.
resume. If your plan is to find, maybe you want to jump to a white collar firm later, well established, then this experience will also help you. So having those conversations with junior folks helps me, that what is it that you are actually seeking,
Right.
because money is just in the beginning it's not that much, and it's also not the primary thing, because you're always looking for
Yeah.
something else. So today morning, for example, I had a conversation with one of the interns in our team, and I asked him, he's helping us with outreach to different partners, and I asked him, so he wants to do investment banking. Then my conversation with him was that, why do you want to do investment banking?
Right.
Right. So some of those questions, having those conversation helps me in giving me a peek into what their mental model is, how they're looking at their life, and where they can be, how can they play a role with that goal, what role can they play for next 6 months or 1 year, because they're already giving me a roadmap that this is what my roadmap is.
Yeah.
So it's just having realistic expectations.
Right. Right. And you mentioned about feedback. I think that is such a powerful tool, right? You can
Yeah.
apply that across. I mean, if you are open to listening to your customers, what feedback they are giving with you and solving for that, that can just help in so many different ways in growing the business.
Customer feedback is easier, but as a founder, you generally don't get a feedback because people don't come and tell you that you're wrong. So in that case, you need to kill the ego and probably have those, conversations outside the work environment or in
Right.
those moments where people want to open up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Generally, they will not tell you.
Right.
As a founder, nobody is going to come and tell you to your face that this is, you handled this meeting wrong or you said something wrong. They are not going to tell you.
That is for the team, right? Not the
Yeah.
customers. But
Customers
customers are
don't.
very direct.
Customers are very direct. Team is not
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
tell you
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then you need to have that a mechanism where you are able to have those conversations with them.
Right. Right. Again, it boils down to the culture, right? If you have that transparent culture in the DNA of your organization, then teams may. But if you are, if people think that it's a very hierarchical sort of an organization where there is fear and psychological safety is not there,
Yeah.
then people generally don't open up.
Yeah. And also, you have to look at it from the point of view of a 20 years old. Because let's say if you are a funded entity like us,
Yeah.
right, they generally put you in a very high regard,
Yeah.
right? So whatever you are saying is very important to them. Whatever off the record comment, let's say, you are making about their work,
Right.
it's for you it's nothing. For them it's something which they will
Right.
keep with them.
Right.
So I think when you are building that 0 to 1 team, practicing what you are telling them to practice is also important. So for example, if you say my daily scrum is going to start at 9:30
Yeah.
and everybody needs to be in office at 9:30, then you should probably be there at 9.
Correct.
Otherwise it's not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. You need to lead from the front,
Yeah.
essentially. You
So
need to
that is
practice what you
something.
preach.
That problem is there with young founders, I think, because they're chasing this mythical fame and other things, but just doing those day-to-day things, showing up on time before telling others to show up on time, or,
Right. Right.
so those things are important. Very small, but they go a long way.
No, I fully agree. Those basic hygiene things are so important. And they have such a big impact on
That's what
creating
I
the right
tried.
culture.
Yeah. So my principle is that first in and last out.
Yeah.
At least for first 10-15 years, this should be your life. That
Right.
you are the first one and you should be the last one out.
Right. Okay. And as a founder, we had this conversation earlier about founders wanting to do more, right? Having that feeling that, okay, I'm not able to spend time here, there. What are the 3-4 things that you are not able to spend time on?
Well, I would say I would like to spend more time with my family, but that I have not been able to do for last 2 years. I got married 2 years ago, and that part is, I think, on the back burner. But I think again, it's a choice which we make as founders. For me, Fibonacci, Venture Edu, these are my creative outlets. So I get to do multiple things throughout the day, and having that support from home, that definitely helps. But that's one thing I would like to do more. Second is around fitness. I still take out time, but not as much as I used to take 5 years back. I would like to do that. And third is maybe where I still take out time is probably read other things which are outside business,
Right.
which stimulate the mind in a very different way, maybe about architecture or about history, something outside. Because what is this fatigue also seeps in,
Correct.
because once you're thinking about, let's say, most of the times, as you also know, as a leader or as a founder, you're trying to solve certain things.
Correct.
Let's say you are solving for capital, or you're sourcing for right kind of people, or you're solving for growth. And you're constantly thinking about it. You're thinking about it when you're going to bed, you're thinking about it when you're waking up. Sometimes that fatigue seeps in. So in case you're able to engage on certain other activities, I don't recommend, smoking or drinking. If you are trying to solve something, it doesn't help. So maybe going for a walk, or maybe reading something, some ideas, you're able to connect dots sometimes. Sometimes having conversations with people who are actually not from business also gives you different perspectives.
Right. Right.
So those are 2 3 things where I feel I could do more. I could do more around health. I could family, reading, learning new things. I could always do more things.
Right.
So, but I think that's a balance you're always chasing in life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Correct. And the same applies for the teams
Yeah.
also, right? How do you ensure that teams are engaged and are driven and are motivated, because everyone goes through
Yeah. So some of the micro
different phases, right?
experiments which I have done is, earlier we used to have this alternate Saturdays, everybody should would come in. So then for junior team members, we just made this that they don't need to come in Saturdays. We come in Saturdays and we think about next week, right? Because I feel for younger folks, they have other things going on, and I just felt, especially for creative teams, right? It's very difficult to work 6 days or 7 days, because then, let's say, if you're a designer, or if you're a graphics person, or if you're a art director, it's not healthy to be there on the grind for 6 7 days. So we just cut it down to 5 days now, so they don't need to come in Saturday. That is just a discovery through conversations, although they don't mind, because they also understand that it's 0 to 1. But I just felt that it's something which they should get that break, so that they can come in with fresh energy again,
And
going
that
back.
is a very powerful tool again when founders are looking at it. Having
Yeah.
that empathy towards your team members and trying to understand what they are going through. Because if you are with them in those situations and try and understand and solve for those things, they would obviously be more driven towards the company and the founder. That this builds a very different bond.
Yeah. And I think it just comes down to, are you a sensitive person in life or not? If
Yeah.
you're not sensitive, I think it doesn't matter. I meet all kinds of people throughout the day. I'm meeting probably 500,000 founders in a year. Some people are just not
Right.
sensitive. They're
Right.
not sensitive towards investors. They're not sensitive towards customers. They're just different, cut from a different cloth.
Right.
And that's also fine. Maybe they will also become
That's also
successful.
fine. That's
Yeah.
that's the culture they have. But as a founder, you need to build a culture for the organization, right?
Correct.
And everyone needs to
And I think if someone is sensitive, they are sensitive towards internal and external
external
stakeholder.
customers also,
Both.
external
Yeah.
vendors also, partners also.
Yeah. So that sensitive nature is, and reflective nature is important, I think.
Right.
Which I think developed only later in life. Because in your 20s you are still figuring out things, a lot of
Right.
things inside yourself.
Right. Okay, that's great.
And the idea is that when folks come to Venture Edu, we want to shorten that journey.
Yeah.
Probably 10-year journey into 2-year journey. Like those,
Right.
through those 14 months, we give them tools, interactions through which you can actually shorten that learning period. That's the whole effort.
Right. No, that's essentially you're trying to increase the probability of success for a founder, right?
Correct.
That's amazing. And how do you differentiate with the business schools, right? Business schools have been there for forever.
Yeah.
And they are also business schools.
If you think about the education business, right, it's a beautiful business because money comes in first, you're delivering service later. It's a business which has existed for centuries
Yeah.
and it works.
Right.
It's recession proof.
Yeah.
Probably it works even better in recession, right?
Right.
The way we are different from B schools have played an important role in our economy around the world, having that trained workforce,
Yeah.
building certain things, and they continue to do so. We
Correct.
still need them. These institutions are important.
Yeah.
How we are different is, one, there is a lot of focus on execution. So you come with an idea, you have to build for those 14 months. Eventually, you graduate with a revenue generating startup, which is likely to be funded. Right. And so the program is optimized for network and exposure and execution versus in classroom case studies or tests, etc. Right. So that's a fundamental difference between B schools and us. Also, there is no placement center, there is no career center. If you are looking for a secure job, I would recommend going to top B schools in India. We have, or outside, wherever you choose to go. But Venture Edu is only for people who have decided that my life's mission is to build a venture. Maybe I will do multiple pivots, but I will eventually build something. Right. So that's second difference.
Right.
And third is, how will we measure our success? It will be how many people have graduated from our program, from our cohort, how many are revenue generating, how many are seed funded, how many are going to Series A after 5 years, because usually there is a 4 to 5 year gap.
Right.
Because this founder maturity and all those things take time.
Yeah.
So those will be our KPIs.
Got it.
While B schools have very different KPIs because their focus is more on placement and CTC and all those things are important because expectations are very different from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to something very different, and this is about processes, right? As an organization, whatever scale, you need to set up processes for different things. Now, there are two schools of thoughts, right? If you set up very detailed processes for everything, then you may be restricting innovation because then everyone follows that process, and within those boundaries they would innovate or try and do things.
Yeah.
Versus not setting up processes where individuals are just applying their mind to everything and trying to do things in a more innovative manner where you're not restricted by any process. So have you felt that? Have you experienced that? What is your take on that?
I think for us, what we have thought for our flagship program is somewhere in the middle. So there is definitely a structure, because once you put people into a 50-member cohort, there has to be a structure, right?
Yeah.
Also, there are some governance meetings. Every 15 days, you need to report what progress you have made on the idea. In case you are asking for time with a mentor, then you need to update what did you do with the suggestion which you received, right? So those structures are there. Also, there are some discussions in every session around concepts and how those concepts are important or how you can apply that to your idea. So that participation is also expected during those discussions.
Understood.
Right. But it's going to be slightly different because within those 50, maybe there are some consumer founders, maybe there are some people who are building around EV, maybe some people are building around clean energy.
Yeah.
So we will divide that journey, because GTM is going to be very different for each founder in that.
Right.
So we'll have that flexibility that in case there is requirement, we can always divide and do that. Right? So we'll take the middle path here, and depending on, let's say, In the first phase, it may be more structured in the first 5 months, and then later, last 5 months are going to be more flexible, where maybe some people want to invite their co-founders and build from our campus. We have that flexibility, right?
Okay.
Or maybe some people have already received funding, so they can actually not be in campus at that point. Maybe they want to meet their potential customers, right? So last leg of the program is very, very flexible. First leg of the program, where we want this unlearning and learning to happen, that is slightly, I would say, on the structured side.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So it's, I think, different. I wouldn't say unique, because part of the playbook already exists with some of these institutions which are there. We are just consolidating and refining those. So there are, I don't think it's an original idea. It's just an iteration which has not been executed so far. So that's what we are trying to do. Claiming to be unique, I think, will be an overstatement. So we have taken different parts of playbook from, let's say, traditional MBA accelerators, VC accelerators, corporate programs, and then trying to see what works for founders.
Oh, that's great. At times, what I feel is that there is lack of that structured framework and playbook that exists, which can be your guide in various situations, right?
Right.
Because there are a lot of standard things that the founders would need to do, right? And if there is a playbook for that, that would make it much easier. And in the end, of course, the probability of success goes up.
Yeah. And again, I would say this founder journey is like a self-discovery process only, right? Because you don't know. I mean, we all have seen companies, startups, let's say, who had raised 300 million and are nowhere to be seen. We've all seen Food Panda and other examples in our life in last 10, 15 years. People coming from, very good institutes, raising large amount of capital, having the best advisory boards in the US, in India, and then going to zero, right? So it's not a binary game in that way. The only way I think we can make an impact as an institution is to not make very obvious mistakes, right? So it's like inverting, right? So not making mistakes which are likely to lead you into trouble, and then upside will take care, right?
Right.
Maybe not this idea, but next idea.
Correct. And there's a different way to look at mistakes, right? Those are learning opportunities. What did you learn from that, and how do you apply it to the next thing that you're doing or the next pivot that you're doing? Also is a very powerful thing.
Yeah, so we'll be screening for that in the interviewing process also. So when they've given their entrance test, they come and meet us offline. So we'll be screening for that. That give us examples of, let's say, overcoming difficult things in life. Right? If you're a first-time founders, we need to see some examples of that you have overcome some difficulties in life. That could be personal or some other things. That just gives us, because you are going on this path where it's going to be very difficult.
Correct.
So some of those questions give a lot of insight into how the person is built.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think great conversations. We covered a lot about team building, people, founder mindset, and I think glad to have you on board as a mentor. I think on people
Pleasure.
and leadership side, we will definitely need your help with the cohort. So thank you so much for taking out the valuable time. I think we'll have more conversations in future.
No, pleasure is all mine. Team building, competency building, venture building is, I would say, my passion. So happy to be involved there and happy to contribute in whatever ways I can. And good luck with your venture.
Thank you, Ashish. Thank you.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.